So my non-biblical reading for today is from a book by Marianne Williamson called Everyday Grace, Having Hope, Finding Forgiveness, and Making Miracles. So she says this: everything we encounter throughout the day is a spiritual opportunity if we approach it with love. Every moment challenges us to rise to our highest, to choose strength over weakness, forgiveness over blame, faith over faithlessness, and love over fear. And when we can't, we ask God for help. Our choice to stand within a field of infinite possibility is our miraculous authority in any situation.
Scripture reading this morning. Blessed are you, O radiant one, you who are hidden within our hearts, even as we are hidden within your heart. You invite us to participate in the divine unfoldment as we awaken from our long sleep and give birth to creativity.
Thanks for doing double duty today, Ronna. Just running our video and being a liturgist. Would you pray with me? Holy One, help us to be present, to be as fully present as possible in this moment, so that we might allow your Spirit to move in and through each of us, filling us with whatever we need most today. And may the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be filled with your grace and your wisdom. Amen. So I'm beginning a series on everyday possibilities. And today we're talking about the possibility of a new day. Henry David Thoreau in his book Walden wrote this: we must learn to reawaken and keep ourselves awake, not by mechanical aids, but by an infinite expectation of the dawn. An infinite expectation of the dawn, which does not forsake us even in our soundest sleep. It's a little bit reminiscent of the last line of Gone with the Wind. Tomorrow is another day. And the famous song from Annie, the sun come out tomorrow, bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Even the LGBT community has a movement pointing us toward new tomorrows. It's called It Gets Better. A whole bunch of folks out there who are saying there's going to be another day, and another day, and another day. And each one brings with it new hope and new possibilities for things to get better. And so hang on. A new day. An infinite expectation of the dawn. Every day we all get a clean slate. Every day we're able to participate in life. Every day, we have all of these opportunities before us. So my question of the day is, what do we need? What characteristics do we need within us to actually participate in some of those possibilities?
Positive attitude.
A positive attitude. Wonder. Open-mindedness. Curiosity, sure. Gratitude, Diane. Bravery, absolutely. Might take a little bit of risk, so we better have some courage. What did I hear?
Love.
Robin's pointing.
Love.
Love, Donna, yeah. All of of these wonderful things, to be optimistic, to be positive, to be courageous and fearless and curious and full of a positive expectation instead of a negative expectation, are all important when we have that clean slate in front of us, and it's, all of these things that you can do, like with a piece of yarn, right? It's our day. One of the things that I think makes engaging in all of these possibilities more difficult is that right now we're an anti-mystery culture. Our culture is all about explanations and definitions. We want to explain and define everything. We want reasons for everything. We want to know who to blame in any given circumstance. We want answers for everything. And so in this anti-mystery culture, it makes it very difficult for us to allow this range of possibilities before us, to have the faith, perhaps. That's one piece we miss. To have the faith to step into any one of those possibilities, trusting in a benevolent energy, divinity to be there with us in the divine unfoldment. The translation of Psalm 144 that Robin read today from Nan Merrill's book, Praying with the Psalms, is just beautiful. It reminds us that the Sacred One is within each and every one of us, and that we're invited every day to participate in the divine unfoldment. Don't you love those words? The divine unfoldment of our lives as each moment unfolds before us. How will we participate in all of the possibilities that are given to us? Will we participate because it's a choice? And that mystery's kind of rough because we don't always know what's going to unfold before us. But do we risk stepping into the divine unfoldment and seeing where it takes us? Part of the challenge there is that we tend to be, I'm afraid, humanity tends to be prejudgmental. We tend to be fairly black and white. When faced with a circumstance, we've decided immediately whether it's good and bad, whether we should go forward or not. We've imposed our narrative on things based on our past experience and based on reason, which may be right, but maybe not. How do you participate in possibilities if you shut them down before trying? If you've predetermined whether they're going to be good or bad or not? There's a story about an old farmer. And the old farmer one day has his only horse wander off somewhere and just leave him. And the neighbors come by that night and they're commiserating with this poor old farmer, and they're shaking their heads and we're so sorry. I don't know what you're going to do now. How are you going to plow your fields? How are you going to survive? This is just horrible for you. And the old farmer said, maybe yes, maybe no. Well, the next day the horse came back with 6 more wild horses. And the neighbors came back that night. They said, this is amazing. Look, you are richer than you have ever been. What a wonderful, fortunate circumstance. And the old farmer looked at him and said, maybe yes, maybe no. And so the next day, his son put a saddle on one of those wild horses and tried to ride it, and it threw him, and he broke his leg. And the neighbors came by that night. They said, this is awful. You need help on the farm. He's your best guy to help you. You're in danger of going into poverty now. This is terrible. And the old farmer looked at him and said, maybe yes, maybe no. So the next day, the conscription officers come by, and they go through the village, and they draft all of the young men into the war, except the farmer's son, because he has a broken leg. And the neighbors come by, So it may be kind of an extreme example. But it points out how we're so quick to determine whether something is good or bad, whether it fills our expectations or not, whether it's what we need or what we don't need. And the old farmer, in sort of his odd little wisdom, just kind of took it as it came. A friend of mine says to live life on life's terms. In other words, you just kind of take it as it comes, you accept it as it is, and you move with it as best you can. Because we don't know. And unless we offer ourselves the opportunity to live into all of the possibilities, and sometimes to just sit with it and see what happens next, we can shut ourselves off from some amazing things. But you know, it takes practice. That openness that you talked about, the flexibility, the courage, the bravery, the risk-taking, the wonder, the curiosity, it all takes practice. When you see those possibilities, not to jump to the conclusions, but to leave it open to the divine unfoldment, to see how each moment is going to unfold before you, to make the best choice you can make, to stay in the flow or not. It all takes practice, believing in the possibilities. There's this wonderful little dialogue between Alice and the Queen in Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass. And Alice says, "I can't believe that." And the Queen says, "Can't you?" So, try harder, take a deep breath, and close your eyes. And Alice just laughed and said, "There's no use in trying. So, one can't believe impossible things." And the Queen said, "Well, I dare say you just haven't had enough practice. By the time I was your age, I always did it at least a half an hour a day. But I dare say that there were some times I actually believed at least 6 impossible things before breakfast." It takes practice to see the possibilities, to believe in the possibilities, to trust the divine unfoldment in the possibilities. Sometimes we just get too stuck. Get trapped in our own little mindsets, in our own little corners of the world, in our own stuck in the mud thinking. There's a story about Zenith Drilling Company. Zenith Drilling Company made the best drill bits in the world. They were a leader in making drill bits because of their tungsten-tipped drills, which was great for a time. And then other companies caught on to the technology and they started catching up, and Zenith started losing market share to the point where their profitability was at risk. So what do corporations do when that happens? They decide to change the CEO. So they get a new CEO thinking that he'll bring in some innovative new thinking and maybe turn things around, get them their market share back. And the first thing the CEO did was to call a 3-day crisis conference with all of the execs and all of the managers. And his task to them was to determine what their mission was as a corporation. Well, much conversation and much deliberation, and they finally determined, I don't know why it took them 3 days to do this, that after 3 days that their mission was not only to make drill bits, but to make the best drill bits in the world. And they all agreed that this was a very, very good, very important mission for them. True story. The CEO looked at him and went, no, your mission is not to make drill bits, not to make the best drill bits in the world. Your mission is to make the best holes in the world. And they went on to develop a laser technology and are now the leading corporation making the best holes in the world. But you can see how they got stuck. in that narrow-minded thinking. There are all kinds of corporations out there who have gotten stuck and refused to see the possibilities, even though they were right in front of their noses. Y'all remember Kodak, right? We don't think about Kodak a whole lot anymore. But in the last century, most of us can remember the last century, Kodak, there's a few little ones in there. Kodak was the leader in film. Well, they had the opportunity to be the leader in digital as well. One of their engineers by the name of Steve Sasson actually invented the first digital camera in 1975. He took it to management, and management said, "Oh, that's cute. Don't tell anyone." Because they believed so much in the physical film that they were producing that they couldn't see beyond it. In 2012, they filed for bankruptcy. Y'all remember Blockbuster? I bet we've all been to a Blockbuster at some point in time. Did any of you mourn when Blockbuster went away? It was a little sad. Blockbuster was like the leader in, videos and DVDs for all of us for a long time. And then who came along? Netflix. And they started delivering DVDs to homes. Who knew, right? Well, Blockbuster was so convinced that their brick and mortar stores were the way to go that when Netflix approached them with a partnership offer, Blockbuster turned it down. The CEO said, "Oh, that's ridiculous. You're just serving a niche market." Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy in 2010, and Netflix is worth about $28 billion. Somebody's hitting himself upside the head right about now. To not see the possibilities, even when they unfold right before you. Because you're so stuck. The same thing happens in our lives, maybe not quite to that extent. But we're given the opportunity. We're given a myriad of options. It's our choice as to whether we're going to allow ourselves to follow or if we're going to get stuck. The one line from Alice and the Queen that sticks with me is Alice going, "Well, it's no use trying." How many people do we know who never even tried? Gave up before they tried. It's sort of the whole, well, we've never done it that way. That'll never work. Why would you want to do that? We've all heard those things. And so we shut off that flow of the universe that's sitting there for us to just take advantage of. So our challenge, every day, when we wake up with that clean slate of possibilities in front of us, is to be open-minded, to allow ourselves to risk, to be a little bit curious, to wondering, oh, I wonder what that would look like. I wonder what my day could be if I did that. When things come your way, to open yourself up to them instead of closing off. And in doing so, we join hands with the divine flow and we lean into life and we soar on the possibilities. Amen.